Greetings everybody, my name is Tommy the Keyblade Master, and welcome to my channel. It's time to talk about a company called Rare. What are they? Well, back in the 80s they kind of started making some middlesome computer games. They were average at best, they were kind of low budget, and in my opinion, aren't very good nowadays. However, they started making some pretty decent NES games with the likes of Battletoads and RC Pro-Am. And when they created new technology that would push the Super Nintendo to its limits, their big break came when Nintendo decided to purchase them. During this golden era of Rare actually out Nintendo on a Nintendo console. Think about that for a minute. If you ever look at a list of N64 games, yes, some Nintendo first party games will be there. You'll have Mario 64, you'll have Zelda Ocarina of Time, and you might have Mario Kart or Smash Brothers on the list. But you'll probably have more Rare-made games than Nintendo. We're talking about Donkey Kong 64, we're talking about Banjo-Kazooie, we're talking about Blast Corps, and of course the legendary GoldenEye, which isn't on this collection I'm about to talk about, unfortunately. But still, you have a lot of Rare-made games for the N64. However, after the N64 was done, Nintendo sold them off to Microsoft, and under Microsoft, they haven't been doing so hot. We're talking about Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts. I haven't played the rest of the games that are on this collection for the Xbox 360. I'm going to sit down and play a few of them before I do a really big review on them. But let's just say my experience with Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts was not a good one. But Microsoft has just released a collection of all these Rare games. Basically, you have a lot of their PC games, you have a lot of their NES games, and you have most of their N64 library. I can only think of 3 games that are not a part of this N64 collection. Like I said, you got GoldenEye, which is the best game they made for the N64, but licensing issues means that ain't coming out for either the Xbox or the Wii U Virtual Console anytime soon, unfortunately. You'll have Donkey Kong 64, which is available on the Wii U Virtual Console and is a decent game, but it does have its problems. And then you have a Mickey Mouse racing game, which it's better than Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, but it's not really great. But anyways, I picked this game up and I've been playing it quite a bit today, and I thought I'd kind of do an early thoughts on this and decide to tell you guys if I think it's good or not. Well, when I decided to download the game, I noticed something. The game downloads the Rare Replay games separately from anything that's available on the Xbox 360. So your Banjo-Kazooie remake for the 360, your Perfect Dark remake for the 360, not to mention all the 360 Rare games, download separately. This is actually a really good idea. It means I can go and delete these games that are going to be huge, especially the 360 games, off my Xbox One hard drive if I don't want to play them. And as I said, a lot of these newer games don't really stack up to their N64 counterparts, unfortunately, so I am glad Microsoft did this. Getting around the menus in Rare Replay is pretty easy. They are grouped by chronological order, and there's also a lot of neat extras, including video interviews and other stuff that can be unlocked by playing the game, and plenty of achievements. Now, the older games like the NES games and the computer games do have a few emulation bonuses added to them. For example, you can rewind the gameplay just by holding the left trigger. If you don't think this is helpful, you've never played the speed racing section of Battletoads before. Anyone who's a noob is going to be using that on stage 3 of Battletoads to protect your own sanity. I have beaten that stage without using it because I played it on the NES, but I by no means fault anyone for wanting to use that during that particular stage. There's also infinite lives codes and quick save cheats as well in these classic games. When you move on to newer games like the ones that are on the 360, it switches into a 360 mode. This is kinda, I guess, an early preview of what backwards compatibility will mean on the Xbox One. When you start these games up, you see an Xbox 360 logo appear, and then it starts running the game, kind of like it's an Xbox 360 game. If you hit the home menu, you'll still exit out onto the Xbox One home screen. However, things like your friends' notifications, your achievements notifications will look like they did on the Xbox 360, and these games run like they did on the Xbox 360. Just thought I'd throw that out. So far, I am pleased with Rare Replay. Like I said, it's got a lot of really great games like Battletoads, Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, and Blast Corps, games that I would recommend to almost anyone. Perfect Dark as well. There are a few not so good games, either because they haven't aged well. Games like Gunfight, for example, haven't aged well. And some of the newer games like Banjo-Kazooie, Nuts and Bolts, because although it had a neat, unique idea, Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts unfortunately gets an F in execution, and it's just a tedious, frustrating game to play. I will do a full review on that one soon as well. Anyways, that's just a quick look at Rare Replay. I'll go back with games that I've really enjoyed playing and games that I recommend you skip over in a week or two, as well as a few full reviews on games like Battletoads, just so you have my thoughts on them. Anyways, if you have any comments on this video, feel free to leave them down below. I appreciate any feedback on this video. This is Tommy the Keyblade Master signing out.